Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Got question Chase, has got the facts, talking NFL numbers, he's got your back. A little chart trend ball, man, he's got it like that. Chasing data by do champions. Chasing data applies to everyone. Chasing data, yeah, we're live today. Chasing data for always. Chasing data by do champions.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another week of Chasing Data. Last 2 weeks, we talked to top 5 offensive, top 5 defenses. This week, we're going to get into my 10 wildest statistical anomalies that I expect could possibly happen in 2026. So, let's get into it. We don't need to beat around the bush. So says, what do you think about Malik so far? We've seen very little of him in preseason, but hopefully he can do as well as I have in Madden with him. I hope that they run a lot of dual threat run game, I would say, with the quarterback option. Honestly, I mean, they have Devon Achane, arguably a top 5 running back, a top 5 weapon in the NFL. So I'm curious to see how they're going to utilize him. I don't really love the coaching staff in Miami, but we will see what happens. So let's get into what we're talking about tonight. 10 bold predictions. We are going to go one at a time. And if you're following along on Twitter or YouTube, you can see as I post them online on the live stream. So my first thing that I think could happen this year is that we have a 10-plus win team from 2025 that finishes below 500 this season. So when you look back at the teams that had 10 or more wins last season, you had the Pats, the Bills, the Steelers, the Jags, the Texans, Broncos, Chargers, Eagles, Bears, Seahawks, and Niners. So out of those teams, which ones do I see possibly finishing below 500, which would be 8 and 9 or worse? Patriots and Bills seem safe. A lot of these seem like a foregone conclusion, but if I had to choose two, it would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this is mostly due to Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is, 43 years old at this point? I mean, how much more do we expect from him in 2026 of all years? His ADOT was one of the lowest, if not the lowest, in 2025. I mean, they really didn't push the ball much. He does have DK Metcalf. He does have Michael Pittman Jr. They do have Jeremy Bernard now to kind of open up that underneath game. So we'll see how that helps. But he lost Kenneth Gainwell. With Kenneth Gainwell being out of that pass-catching room, I mean, they may struggle even more. I mean, he was kind of a safety valve for Aaron Rodgers, and they were 7-3 last year in one-score games. That could easily flip this year. Would not surprise me on an up-and-coming AFC North that they are the odd ones out and could be 8 and 9 or worse. The other team that I could see finishing below 500, that was a 10-win team last year. If I had to choose one, it would be the San Francisco 49ers. This is all based on health. We know the substation issues that has taken place and taken a toll on the team in the offseason. But I'm curious to see how they can improve their health, I guess you would say. I don't know how you want to word that. But, I mean, you look at who's missing right now. They have Ricky Pearsall, who's out. They have age attacking all these players. They have Mike Evans, who is old, George Kittle, who is old, Christian McCaffrey, who is old, Trent Williams, who is old, Bosa, who is always injured. Fred Warner's coming back from a significant injury last year. The defense was not great. They do have two superstars in Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, but outside of that, they don't really have much going on. They were the 9th worst D last year, and they had just 20 sacks. 68 led the league, and they were 48 short of that. They were worst in the NFL. I know they got Oso Digizua. I mean, I don't really foresee them finishing below 500, but if I had to choose a team, it would be them. So my second bold prediction for 2026 is a team that starts 5-0 and misses the playoffs. So, if I had to choose, I went through the schedules of the teams that I could foresee starting 5-0 and then chose which one I thought would have the most likely outcome of missing the playoffs after that. And this was before, I mean, I don't know. Let's see. It was 5-0 would be for the Detroit Lions. When I looked at their schedule, they play their first 5 opponents are the Saints, the Bills, the Jets, the Panthers, and the Cardinals. 3 of those games are easy wins. The Saints has become easier with the loss of Jordan Tyson, and the only real tough matchup out of those first 5 is the Buffalo Bills. So I could see them starting 5-0. Ethan, I'm answering your question in 1 second. I can see them coming out hot, but they are just a few injuries away from disaster with both the offense and the defense. They're getting Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch back from injuries, significant injuries. They have the offensive line that they're moving around. They've moved Penei Sewell from right tackle to left tackle. They have a rookie first rounder going to right tackle. They have Cade Mays as their center. I mean, they've had to beg Frank Ragnow to come back last year from retirement. I mean, Terrion Arnold's out. It's just so many issues between the Achilles and the knee injuries, like I said, with Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. Muhammad was an underrated player that they're missing. He had, 10.5 sacks last year? So we'll see. But I could see them easily going 5-0 if I had to choose a team and them faltering thereafter. Ethan says CMC and Mike Evans for Jonathan Taylor and JMO. No, I don't take that trade. I mean, I think Mike Evans is going to put up significant numbers no matter the offense, and now he's in a Kyle Shanahan offense, and we know Brock Purdy can get the ball to players who are much worse than Mike Evans. The only thing that is negative about this is that they're on the same team, but it's still hard to take JMO. He's so boom or bust for me, and also Jonathan Taylor. He was on the decline at the end of 2025. You have Daniel Jones coming back from an Achilles injury. You have Alec Pierce, who has still not practiced yet. I know they try to sweep it under the rug, but he still hasn't practiced, and I don't know if and when he's going to come back. They say he's going to be ready, but we have yet to see it yet. So I think I keep the CMC and Mike Evans part of that trade. All right, third bold prediction for 2026 is that a QB outside of the preseason top 10 finishes top 5 in MVP. So when you think about this, let's see. 1 second. Let's do this. So when you think about the current top 10, you have Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Dak, Herbert, May, Goff, and Caleb. That's your top 10 odds for MVP. So if I had to choose someone outside of the top 10, I would have to go Bo Nix. I think that the addition of Jalen Waddle gives him the highest variability from anyone else outside that top 10 to become a top 5 and MVP candidate. This is not saying he's going to become the MVP, but if he's a top 5 finisher, I wouldn't be surprised. If he comes back from that ankle injury that he had in the divisional round last year, the sky's the limit with this offense. Sean Payton has given up the play calling from the Denver Broncos, and we're going to see what that next step can be in Bo Nix's evolution. He's going into year 3. Like I said, he has a true 1-2 punch with Jalen Waddle and Courtland Sutton. Jalen Waddle was so underrated in his time in Miami. So if you add Waddle, could Bo Nix get into the top 5? I think there's more volatility with this offense, being that the play calling has changed. And you look at other people who are outside the top 10, it's hard to find someone that would be, oh, this guy could really take a huge leap. But I could see the path where Bo Nix could get into the top 5 for MVP. Eagles are cool says, is JT for Hampton and Emeka bad if I'm giving JT? No. I just spoke right before you got on here about Jonathan Taylor and my lack of trust in him being able to replicate what he did in 2025. We know that offense in Indianapolis got off to a hot start through the first 8 weeks or so last year, and then it fell off after that. And I don't trust, if you ask me right now, I don't trust the fact that Daniel Jones is coming back from an Achilles injury so soon after the injury occurred. You look at the likes of two totally different quarterbacks, but Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins coming back from an Achilles injury, and it just completely shut them down based on what they were doing in their prior years on the field. I know they don't mobilize as much as Daniel Jones, but you have an injured Daniel Jones. You have Alec Pierce, who has not practiced yet, even though he's their wide receiver one in this offense. They have the likes of Josh Downs, Tyler Warren, and Keenan Allen. But you add all that up, and I don't see Jonathan Taylor doing what he did last year. Appreciate you stopping by, though. Would you trade Nico and Henry for CD and Bashal Tootin? I don't think I would. Yeah, for sure. Appreciate the follow as well, Eagles. Um, Nico and Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, I know we keep saying Father Time is gonna catch up to him, but we've yet to see it. I d We have, Declan Doyle as new offensive coordinator in Baltimore. I'm curious to see how he can get this run game going even better. I mean, Lamar Jackson's there. We know what Lamar can do, but I don't the only thing that gives me hesitation is CJ Stroud with Nico Collins. Bashal Tootin showed flashes last year, but I don't know if you could go wrong on either side of that, but I think I stick with Nico and Henry on that side of the trade. Appreciate you stopping by, 3. So, my next bold prediction is who is most likely to be the worst to first division winner for 2026. So, your teams that were in last place in 2025 included the Jets, the Browns, the Titans, the Raiders, the Giants, the Lions, and the Saints, and the Cardinals. I had predicted this prior to the Jordan Tyson injury, but I think I still stick with what I have to say. It's the Saints. They were 270 the other day. They had the second best odds. I'm sure that's dropped in the last 2 days with the Jordan Tyson injury. Like I said, they had the second best odds in NFC South. The NFC South is a true toss-up. So I think this is the easiest pick for a team to go from worst to first in the division. Maybe you could argue the Lions in a bunched up NFC North, but the rest of these teams, the Jets are not winning, the Browns are not winning, Titans, Raiders, Giants, or Cardinals, none of those are going to be able to win their division. Saints, their defense gets overlooked a ton. I mean, we saw that they finished in the second half of that season as a top 10 defense in almost every metric, especially the more advanced analytics. And you have hopefully Jordan Tyson coming back at some point with Tyler Shuck. Chris Olave was healthy last year. I mean, this offense has just looked better, and it's going to be even better in year 2 under Kellen Moore. The Falcons have lost their defensive front, I should say. Abadabadoo. I'm gonna get to your question in 1 second. The defense is just gonna not carry this team, but if they are average and the offense can be just a tick higher in 2026, they could easily win the NFC South. I don't trust Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. The Bucks are probably the biggest issue, the biggest thing to stop the Saints, but if I had to choose a team that goes from worst to first in their division, it's the New Orleans Saints. Thanks for the roses and you're awesome. Abadabadoo, 14-man, half PPR, Jaden Daniels, Chase Brown, Ashton Genty, Ted Neighbors, Loveland with Cornell Tate, Rams defense, and Fairburn. How'd you get this team? Like, this is absolutely ridiculous for a 14-man. Like, quite insane, honestly. I would take that every day of the week. So, my 5th bold prediction is that we have a 6 or fewer win team makes the playoffs from. Yeah, I see that. People took a ton of reaches. That is insane that you got that. What we got here? A good evening. Appreciate that. 6 or fewer win team from last year makes the playoffs. So we're still looking at these worst to first. It kind of goes together with the two. But so we have worst to first. I mean, 6 or fewer win teams last year included the Jets, the Bengals, the Browns, the Titans, the Chiefs, Raiders, Commanders, Giants, Saints, Cardinals. I already talked about the Saints, and I think they could win the division. The Bengals, obviously, if their defense does anything, their offense should be able to carry them to the playoffs in 2026. But if I had to choose one of these teams, it's obviously, thanks for the corn. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs. They were 1-9 last year in one-score games. You have Patrick Mahomes back from the ACL injury. I know this team still has a lot of issues on the offensive side of the ball. Travis Kelce is another year older. Rashee Rice looks like he's running in quicksand out there. They lost Trent McDuffie. They lost Jalen Watson. You still have Steve Spagnuolo, one of the best, if not the best, defensive coordinator in the NFL, easily top 3. I mean, they've drafted a ton of defensive players. R. Mason Thomas is there. Can they get anything out of defensive interior that I'm blanking on right now? My goodness. Don't know why I'm forgetting his name. But can they get anything out of any of this defense? If anybody can do it, it's Steve Spagnuolo. And like I said, out of these 6 or fewer win teams from 2025, it's easily the Chiefs. You can never count out Patrick Mahomes and this team at any given point. You have the Chargers, who likely just lost Tyler Biadasz for some amount of time with the injury, their center. So their interior offensive line is absolutely shot. They do have 2 bookend tackles, but what can Mike McDaniel cover for in Los Angeles, and how much did the defensive coordinator cover up in his time there in Los Angeles? The Raiders are not competing. You have the Broncos, who are probably going to win the division. All right, should I trade Hampton for Justin Jefferson? I already have Chase Brown and Bijan. Yes. I mean, yes, I think that's easy. We do that every day of the week. I don't think there's any scenario where who cares who your RB2 is. Or, I mean, if Chase Brown doesn't do anything, I mean, you take Justin Jefferson every day of the week and see what he can do with Kyler Murray. Appreciate you stopping by. Colton, Dowdle, and Swift for K9. It's a dynasty, and I have Kyle Monangai. Yes, Rico Dowdle. I mean, how much carry is he going to get? I'm not really sure. I know he's in Pittsburgh, but I mean, in a dynasty, I take Monangai and hope for the future that he is going to end up getting the starting role or more snaps at some point. And then you have K9, who's obviously the starter, because the Chiefs have not had a successful run game in quite some time. Jacob, appreciate you stopping by, Colton. Jacob, got offered Scadaboo and Olave for Justin Jefferson. No, don't take it. The reason I say don't take that is because they just signed Najee Harris. So now they have Cam Scadaboo, who doesn't know what day of the week it is, Tyrone Tracy, Devin Singletary, who could get some snaps on some other teams, and now they have Najee Harris. So they have 4 serviceable running backs. So I don't know how that split's going to go. But I think I stick with Justin Jefferson. I don't know. I know Olave is going to be clear wide receiver 1, but I don't trust the Scadaboo part of that. All right, so my 6th bold take. Appreciate you stopping by, Jacob. 6th bold take: which highly drafted quarterback gets benched in 2026? So the ones that were a possibility, plausible benching, that were highly drafted. I mean, almost every quarterback is highly drafted. But the ones that I could see potential in: C.J. Stroud, Cam Ward, Fernando Mendoza, Jackson Dart, and Tyler Shough. I don't think it's Tyler Shough. I mean, they're not benching him for Spencer Rattler. They've already done that song and dance at one point, and Shough came in for Rattler. Fernando Mendoza, it's his first year. They're going to let him go through rookie struggles once he gets in there, if he were to have them. Jackson Dart, I think they're riding that wave. I mean, why would they bench him unless he is just absolutely god-awful? But I don't really see a scenario where that happens. So I think it's down to Cam Ward. I don't think it's going to happen. C.J. Stroud. I mean, the reason I say C.J. Stroud is because he had such a terrible ending to 2025 that if he comes into 2026 and we see the same thing that we saw over those last few weeks and then in the playoffs, putting up absolute stinker after stinker, could they go to Davis Mills again? I mean, Davis Mills did win a few games in a row whenever he did come in middle of the season last year. So I could see that being a plausible scenario. C.J. Stroud had one of the worst stretches in playoff history after a guy that was rookie of the year who just completely fell off last year at the end of the year. So I think it's C.J. Stroud out of any of those. Hopefully not, but anything's possible. Number 7. Offensive rookie by a non-first-round rookie in this year's draft class. So when I dug through it, the one guy that just kept popping out to me was Dejon Stribling for the San Francisco 49ers. He came out looking great in week 1, and Andy, we've already heard so much about him in camp. Plus, you add in the fact that everyone is dying from the substation out in San Francisco, and anything's possible with Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is not choosy as to who gets the ball. We saw what he did in week 1. Like I said, I mean, he led the team with 7 receptions for 62 yards, plus that over-the-shoulder catch. That was just absolutely amazing for him being in his first preseason game. So Purdy has already came out and said he's really smart. He gets the game of football. And he went on to double down on that, saying people come into the league and they're talented, but to understand the speed of the NFL and how defenses operate, it can be hard for guys to sort of get with it quick, but he's already there is what he says, which is crazy being that this is already just week 1 and he's already getting compliments of this manner. They've already lost Ricky Pearsall. Mike Evans is not the most sturdy of wide receivers if you had to choose one. So I'm curious to see if he could get offensive rookie of the year as a non-first rounder. Everybody was like, oh, they took him way too early. But here we are already getting raving reviews by his quarterback. All right, the 8th one, a 20-plus sack player. I mean, we might see this. I think it could be Myles Garrett leading the NFL, breaking the record again. And I know that's just kind of a cop-out answer, but when you look at what he had last year in Cleveland and what he was able to do, they did not play with ever having the lead where teams were in passing situations as the opponents. He really didn't have anyone opposite of him. His best defensive lineman that he's ever played with Zadarius Smith, who was past his prime, Dalvin Tomlinson, Larry Ogunjobi. I mean, no one to write home about. And now when you look at what he has in the Los Angeles Rams, you have the likes of Byron Young, who had, 12 sacks last year. You have Braden Fisk, who's now a rotational defensive tackle. They have Kobe Turner, who is absolutely solid on that interior. And they may be getting Aaron Donald. You put all that alongside Myles Garrett, and if you want to double team him, sure, then you're going to have to go against all these other guys. I mean, you only have so many bodies on an offensive line. So I could see Myles Garrett getting to 20 sacks again and not truly be that surprised. 9th bold take has to do with an 0-3 team making the playoffs. Is there an 0-3 team that could make the playoffs this year? So I know this is also a very easy take, but I don't think it's going to happen. I truly don't think it's going to happen. Since 2020, when the NFL expanded to 14 playoff teams, there have been 21 teams that started 0-3 or worse, and only one made the playoffs. And can you guess who that one was? It's the Houston Texans. And when you look at the Houston Texans, they had an all-decade defense last year, and they're bringing everyone back. I mean, no one's going to be put in the scenario of starting 0-3 and having as good as a unit, offensive or defensive, as the Houston Texans had last year. So you have a 4.8% playoff rate out of the teams that were 0-3. Now, I mean, that's basically a 1-in-21 shot, and I just don't foresee that happening again. There's a reason it only happened last year whenever, like I said, they had an all-decade unit with that defense. C.J. Stroud just absolutely fell off a cliff at the end of the season, but I don't foresee an 0-3 team making the playoffs this year. And lastly, I think we might could get 2,000-yard running backs this year in the year of 2026. And why do I say that? We are running into a league that is now leaning more into the run than they have in probably the past 10 years. We went to a passing phase, and now we're kind of searching back to that run. I mean, I feel like we see it more and more each year, and 2,000-yard guys that could get there. All right. I could see the likes of James Cook getting there. I could see Bijan Robinson getting there. I could see Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, I'm not saying they are, but if I had to choose some, I could see it. Could we see the likes of even a Derrick Henry in a new offense? Potentially. I mean, he has not slowed down at all. Devon Achane, I think, maybe used too much in the past game. Jonathan Taylor, I mean, he had what, almost 1,600 last year? So he's not far away. But I do think there is a possibility we could get two 2,000-yard rushers in 2026. So I think that's all for tonight. I appreciate everybody stopping by. Get a little bit more viewership tonight, and we will get in here with more fantasy questions. We'll gladly answer more and more fantasy as we get closer to opening week, which is just 3 weeks away at this point. And Tyler, appreciate the follow. Let's see, we got Williams, Monty, Puka, Adams, McBride, K9, Michael Wilson, Jalen Warren, and Buka. Changes for running back. So you have David Montgomery, Williams. I assume that's Caleb Williams. K9, and Jalen Warren. So your starters are Monty and K9. Is that correct? Is that, and then Jalen Warren is your RB3 on this roster? I mean, I would try to flip two of those secondary wide receivers for another running back, or maybe Egbuka and Warren for a running back. Or even maybe like Montgomery and Egbuka to get a higher tier running back. I just feel like once you lose Monty or K9, like I'm not trusting Jalen Warren being your other running back. So I would try to upgrade the running back position if possible by trading. I keep K9. K9 is going to be absolutely amazing for the Kansas City Chiefs, I do believe, being that they have had absolute nothing, and Patrick Mahomes has been their most successful rusher over the past 2 seasons. Blake, appreciate you stopping by. Tyler, appreciate the follow as well. Blake says Jeremiah Love or Quinshon Judkins. Honestly, if health was not a factor, I would say Jeremiah Love, of course, Tyler, no problem. But with these high ankle sprains, I was reading, I think it's Jesse Morse, the MD, on Twitter today, was talking about how these high ankle sprains affect running backs more than any other position. And when they do, it takes them around 6 months to get back to their true volatility. Appreciate the follow, Blake. But it takes them almost 6 months to become as explosive as they were to begin with. Who was it last year who complained about this? There was another running back that had mentioned this. So he said the way that the healing process goes for the high ankle sprains is that it just ends up putting more pressure on other parts of the joint that basically linger and prevent them from being 100%. With that said, I take Quinshon Judkins. Whenever he was there last year, the offense cannot be any worse than what it was in 2025, regardless of who's under center. He was around like 12th to 16th in EPA per rush in his first few weeks that he played last year, and the offensive line can't be any worse than 2025 in Cleveland. They have Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston to add to the mix. I feel like that opens up the run game even more for Quinshon Judkins, like I said, regardless of who's under center. So I take Quinshon over Jeremiah Love. Jeremiah Love's probably going to be the better player. If he was fully healthy, I take him. But I think we go Quinshon. Another thing that worries me is that I know they took him 3rd overall in Arizona, but they also have Tyler Algier. Who else do they have? Trey Benson, who they just drafted, 2 years ago? Like, how much of this is gonna be a committee? With Judkins, the only thing I'm really worried about is Dylan Sampson being the 3rd down back, but I'm not too worried about that because Sampson had his opportunity last year, and, I mean, he didn't do anything with the run game. He was more of a pass-catching threat for the Cleveland Browns. So I don't see him taking away many snaps from Quinshon Judkins. First pick, 10-man. Okay, we have Gibbs, Josh Allen, McBride, London, Kyron. Oh, you had first pick. Okay, I was like, wait. You're considering these as first pick. All right, so Gibbs. Then to follow that, I honestly saw something on Twitter today that was saying it is now leaning towards like you are going to have the likelihood if you're a first pick in a 10-man league, just like you're saying, to have Josh Allen with that second pick, which is insane. Then you have tight end 1 and Trey McBride. Kyron Williams, one of the most effective runners last year, highest one of the top 5 in success rate last year. And then you have Drake London. I mean, Drake London, the only thing that's holding him back is his quarterback play. But I mean, you have potentially RB1, QB1, and tight end 1. I don't think it really matters what the rest of the roster is. So, I mean, I think that is absolutely solid and ideal situation for you to walk into. Appreciate you stopping by, Matt. In the Twitter stream.